I have always had anxiety and depression. It's always like this like underlying kind of like current. I started hearing about this therapy that's available that is ketamine therapy.
I was looking at ways to help tackle the mental health care crisis by building technology to increase access to really effective treatments. I learned that ketamine therapy was this emerging treatment option, but a lot of people didn't know about it. It was very expensive and just very hard to access and not available to a lot of people. When the pandemic occurred and the quarantine came down for people, we were able to rapidly shift from a model where people came into a psychedelic therapy center in New York and continued treatment remotely.
I had like an initial kind of screening that you fill out online, and then I got contacted by them. I had a video consultation with one of their psychiatrists. I am typically like a huge wuss when it comes to drugs. I've never done any psychedelics or anything like that. I'm trying not to be nervous, but I am nervous.
Ketamine was first synthesized in 1962 by a pharmaceutical company called Parke-Davis. It was first introduced actually into Vietnam as a battlefield anesthetic. Its official FDA indication is as a surgical anesthetic and procedural sedative, but drugs often have multiple uses. Its use in psychiatry is a little bit complicated. Chronic stress will actually impair the brain's capacity for neuroplasticity. Thinking of sort of a ski mountain. Path is skied over and over and over again, and you can imagine how the ruts get very deeply grooved, and over time that just becomes the path of least resistance. Ketamine very rapidly affects neuroplasticity. So through upregulation of a neurochemical called BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor, it will actually enhance the plasticity. Suddenly a brain is plastic enough, is flexible enough to form alternative pathways, which is why it's very important to couple ketamine therapy with psychotherapy.
Okay, so we've got the box. So we've got our blood pressure monitor. Apparently ketamine can make your blood pressure go up, so I think they want to test for that. A journal and pen. And then this is the most important. This is the actual medicine itself. Achieve your breakthrough. So these will dissolve under my tongue, and then I spit it out after 7 minutes, I think, is what they said. So now we just have the session to do. So we'll get started, I guess.
So nice to meet you. I'm excited to begin this journey with you, and also just want to thank you for inviting me to be your guide. So
Excellent.
The role of the guide is to support the client throughout the journey. It's a lot of people's first experiences with altered states of consciousness, and they're doing it at home, and they're trusting us to guide in the process. Guides coordinate all of that conversation between the clients and the clinicians, and also organize check-ins when needed. There are definitely some common themes amongst our clients. Like, just so many of us are looking for love, and so many of us are looking for acceptance.
And then is it supposed to be like
yeah,
here?
that's perfect. So
Okay.
you can read it. Yeah.
I'm trying to not be nervous. I feel like that's just making it worse.
My biggest priority is making sure that people feel open to whatever is going to come up for them.
Do you have anything you would like to speak to, or any questions before I let you begin?
It probably varies, but like how quickly do you start like feeling it?
Yeah, it definitely varies. Like, some people start feeling it already when the tablets are in their mouth. Normally it's like 7 to 15 minutes is the range.
Okay.
You will have 60 minutes with the medicine, followed by 30 minutes to journal and reflect. And then we're going to meet with Leo afterwards and make a plan for treatment moving forward, and also assist in integration.
Awesome.
But yeah, I'll be wishing you a wonderful journey, and we'll see you on the other side with Leo at 5. Thanks, Bri.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye. She said it's not strong enough that it's gonna like send me to outer space, but I guess we'll see.
Mindset plays like a big role in these journeys.
What you do before, during, and after a psychedelic experience can dramatically affect the outcomes. Having a trained or licensed guide, teacher, sitter, clinician can dramatically affect what people get out of it. And it also dramatically increases the safety of it.
Trusting in the experience is definitely a huge element as well. Sometimes the experiences are like psychedelic and more like visual and more kind of mystical, and sometimes they're just more restful and meditative. And I think that that's really based on like the inner healer connecting with the medicine and like what the person needs to really help them with healing and growth.
It was different than what I anticipated it to be. I just felt really like calm and really good, but I could still tell like what was going on. I knew where I was. It was like a very meditative state. I journaled like right after. I said, I'm looking for something. What are we looking for? We don't need to look, we're already here.
We put a lot of emphasis on the preparation beforehand and the integration after the sessions. We work together to draw personal meaning from each experience and also see what sorts of practices we can implement into their lives to help work towards original intentions that were set.
A lot of these insights that you get are really non-verbal. You don't have words to describe it, so they're more experiential. So, just slowly swim into them and see what they feel like and where they lead you to.
Yeah, definitely.
So what I'm going to do in terms of medication, I'm going to increase it by 25%, which will be 450 to 600. And I'm also going to ask you to, instead of holding it for 7 minutes, try to hold it for 8 to 9 minutes.
Unless you make an effort to sort of weave those insights and those new understanding into your daily life, then your daily life isn't going to change much. It might be like you took a nice vacation somewhere, but Monday morning you're back to work and it's like you might as well never have gone.
If we pay special and extra attention to implementing those new habits or behaviors, it becomes a little more ingrained in the mind. It's not something foreign.
When I started Mindbloom in late 2018, the mental health care crisis was widely regarded as like the #1 public health care crisis. 50% of Americans will have a mental illness in their lifetime. People with depression cost the healthcare system 50% more than people without it. And when you really dig into the research and talk to a lot of psychiatrists and therapists, and what you learn is that the existing treatment options are just not doing it for people.
Modern psychiatry in the West remains to this day, unfortunately, pretty reductionist. Medications are largely used to suppress symptoms. Prior to ketamine, we didn't really have any tool that could acutely address depression and suicidality in a way that was rapid. All the conventional antidepressants take weeks, if not months, to reach their full effectiveness. A very small number of ketamine treatments can actually be quite profoundly effective.
Mental health and well-being needs to be a non-negotiable top priority. One of the most important parts of it is reducing the cost of treatment. A lot of ketamine clinics today can range anywhere from $600 to $1,200 a session. But today we've been able to bring the cost down like 60 to 80%. If we're able to bring these medicines to more people, then we could potentially accelerate the entire healthcare system's adoption of them and make a dent in global human suffering.
The experience was very, very different than what I was anticipating. It was not a visual experience, it's like a much more internal experience. It's almost like a really deep meditation. It is cumulative and very subtle, but it definitely makes a big difference. I was sitting there and I was like, wow, I feel really good. And like, I don't feel anxious. I don't feel stressed. When you say the word psychedelic, it's very loaded and people like have a lot of ideas about what it should be. And so because I thought that it would be like this tidal wave of change crashing over me, I was ignoring the fact that it actually was like making these like subtle changes. It is much more about the entire process and the guidance and the therapy part of it than it is the medicine.
Our goal is not to have people coming to the medicine for the rest of their lives. Like, we want people to do these rounds of treatment and then feel like they have develop the tools they need to be in that space on their own.
You know, if somebody's using ketamine as a way of escaping their problems, as opposed to turning towards their problems and confronting them, that's when the pattern of usage can become really problematic and frankly dangerous. So it's about responsible use and the intention with which it's used.
It's definitely not a magic pill, but it's a way to see the top of the mountain.
At Mindbloom, we have a pretty big opportunity and responsibility when it comes to the overall perception, stigma, and brand of psychedelic therapies as legitimate medical treatments. The medicine is safe, and the results people are getting significantly outweigh traditional SSRIs or medications. There's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come, and so I think that the world is just ready.